So, warm greetings and welcome to our meditation together. And as those of you who come regularly know that I often begin, or usually almost always begin the meditation, a guided meditation with spending some time relaxing the body. And some people might think of this as kind of beginner's meditation, kind of before we get into something more profound. And in similar vein, some people think it's just that it's a meditation done for stress reduction is also not very profound. It's just stress reduction. There's great religious things to experience, profundities to discover. And maybe that's true, but what's also true is that what we learn in relaxing, with the activity of relaxing, is just what gets more and more thorough, more bigger as we go along in the path of Buddhism, and until we come to awakening or release or nirvana, which is the big relaxation. It's a big letting go of the holding, the tension, the grasping, the stress. And so I think rather than looking at relaxing at the beginning as a beginning practice, or just before we get into something more serious, it's really beginning to lubricate or practicing or getting familiar, letting the body become familiar with something that is going to keep happening deeper and deeper and deeper. This releasing, relaxing, letting go. And and what helps with that is that as you relax at the beginning, if you're able, whatever degree you're able to relax, even if it's just a teeny bit, that you feel the goodness of that, or you feel the benefit of that, or you feel how that's nice. Let it register. Allow yourself to feel it. In other words, feel the influence that relaxation has on your body, your mind, your heart, and as this goes along, the relaxation will help you relax, or what's deeper. Like a surface relaxation sets up the condition for a deeper relaxation, until we get down to the very core of our being, in a sense, where something there can release and relax as well, and then we're free. So so we'll start now and do some of this relaxation. So one of the reasons to assume a balanced, aligned posture, if you can, to sit upright. But if you're laying down, to be careful with that posture as well, because it's a posture that allows for relaxation. If you're new to meditation, sometimes you feel the work of sitting upright, but after a while, the muscles get stronger and the body adapts to it. And this sitting upright in a certain kind of meditative way is a posture that allows for some of the deepest physical relaxation that the body is able to do. And they say the corpse posture, laying on your back, is equal in how deep one can relax. And we can relax deeper if we're not hunched over and collapsed in the chest. So gently closing the eyes. And as if your whole body is participating in a deep inhale, breathe in deeply so that your torso expands in all directions. Rib cage in the front goes out, the rib cage in the back expands a little bit. The shoulders maybe are lifted up a bit. And if your stomach is relaxed as you breathe in, you might even feel a pushing down. Kind of feel, take deep breaths and feel the fullness of the whole torso participating. And then as you exhale, long, slow exhale, the whole torso relaxes, settles back. Taking a deep breath in, and then relaxing as you exhale. And then letting your breathing return to normal. And then as you exhale, normal exhale, relax the muscles of your face, around the eyes, the jaws, the cheeks, and the exhale, relaxing the shoulders, and whatever relaxation you can, feel the influence of that relaxation through your body. As you exhale, relaxing or softening in the shoulders. Maybe a releasing in the shoulders. As you relax, as you exhale, relaxing in the chest, around the heart, the solar plexus, diaphragm, and relaxing the belly. And it's helpful if the whole body participates in this. So you might look and see if you can relax your arms and hands. Maybe a subtle release of tension, holding. relaxing the legs, the muscles of the calves, the thighs. And then perhaps there's a global relaxation you can do for the whole body. And as you release or soften the body more broadly, let that be felt deep inside. And also to relax wherever your center of thinking is, whatever tension, contraction, pressure that's associated with thinking. As you exhale, relaxing the thinking muscle. Gently quieting the mind. And it's possible to go deeper inside, within. Perhaps if you feel and sense deep in the center of your being, maybe there is a holding or resistance, a tension, maybe a chronic one. Take a few moments to breathe with it, breathe through it. And as you exhale, to relax and release the center of your being. And there may be a little bit of tension around breathing itself. Don't worry about that tension. Make room for it. Breathe with it as if it's okay. And maybe at the end of the exhale, you can relax a bit of it. And if there's a pause at the end of the exhale, even if it's infinitesimally short, see if you can be very relaxed so you can receive the inhale. Allow it to arise. deeper in your mind than your thinking, there can be a very subtle pressure or contraction, coagulation around self, around the doer or the experiencer, or around the one who's responsible, or the one who's scared. Perhaps you can allow whatever other relaxation you've done so far, be there to support and receive the deep relaxation of this tension around self. chances are any ways in which you're going away from the present moment in thought, feelings, there's some tension related to that. If there is, see if you can relax that tension. And then as we come to the end of the sitting, we relate to others in the world and to the world itself very differently if we relate to it through our tension, through the ways which we're contracted, tight, than if we are relaxed and loose. Expansive. Imagine that sitting in front of you is a friend, someone you care for, an uncomplicated friend. And imagine yourself relaxed and peaceful, safe and contented, where nothing needs to happen. You don't have to do anything or say anything particular. Maybe your friend is reading a book peacefully. You can sit and together with your friend in your relaxed state. Perhaps there's room there for your feelings of friendliness, your feelings of appreciation, and maybe feelings of love or kindness. Relaxing deeply into and with your feelings of friendship for your friend. Perhaps it's fairly simple then to relate to your friend more from kindness than from hostility, complaining, resentment, more from goodwill than ill will. More from generosity than from greed. And with whatever feelings you have for your friend, maybe those can be extended outward in a simple way, out into the world, with goodwill for others. The deeper and fuller our relaxation is, the more space there is for friendliness and kindness, care. Tension makes us claustrophobic and fills the space of awareness. Relaxation opens that space so that our wholesome feelings for others can exist there. May all beings be happy. May all beings be safe. May all beings be peaceful. May all beings be free. And may we, in whatever way that is easy for us or appropriate, contribute to that possibility. Continue the topic of wholesome and unwholesome, a fundamental concept for kind of the entire teachings of the Buddha. And the focus today will be on more on the unwholesome. Next week will be more of the wholesome. And the unwholesome, is said to have 3 roots. And the roots are greed, hatred, and delusion. And the idea of roots is very interesting. A root is not something. A root of a plant is underground and you can't see it. But some plants, if you chop them off at the surface level, on the ground, then the roots are still alive, and the plant will still sprout, will grow again from the roots. And so, sometimes plants die back, and they're not really at all seen visibly above the ground. But then spring comes, and maybe the rainy season comes, and they start growing again, and there they are. Sometimes greed, hate, and delusion as roots are called latent tendencies. They may lay inside of us latently, ready to sprout whenever the conditions are right for it. Some people might feel that they have no greed, hatred, and delusion because they don't see it in themselves. But then at some point the conditions come together and like, boy, is it ever there. And There's a story in the suttas of maybe I told you this. I don't think I told you last week, but I was thinking of it. Of a woman who was always kind, but then someone said, maybe this is not only kind of surface deep. And so someone challenged her in a simple way, and sure enough, she got angry and violent even. So this idea of the latent roots, the roots inside, and it being greed, hatred, and delusion. And teachers like me, and a lot of Theravada teachers, will repeat this phrase, greed, hate, and delusion, a lot. And when I was a younger student, I heard it a lot, and I think part of my brain just kind of checked out when I heard it. I heard it so often, it was so repetitive, so rote, and so, almost like I didn't hear it anymore because it was emphasized so much. But the reason it's emphasized is that these are the roots deep inside that give birth to all kinds of unwholesome behavior. I find it very compassionate to call it unwholesome behavior as opposed to bad behavior or evil behavior or wrong behavior. There's a lot of judgments that are around some of the ways we judge, we understand people's behavior. But unwholesome means that you can change it into something wholesome. Unwholesome is more the quality of the activity and doesn't necessarily judge the person. Some behavior is unwholesome. But they have these three roots. And inside of ourselves, like there's a deep inside, unseen many times, can be living inside of us a source from which unhelpful, unbeneficial behavior arises. And in the simplest kind of way, it's related to tension, to holding, to places where we feel hurt, places where we've coagulated or condensed around our pain or our sadness or conceit, all kinds of things we're holding on to, and that can be very deep and subliminal and not even seen, like it's latent, these tensions, but they're ready to express themselves in all kinds of ways. And so part of this practice of the Dharma is to really reach down into the roots of our very being, not just the places that we can see and know, but deep inside that from which unwholesome behavior springs. This deep holding patterns and tensions and inside, and so for that, the process of relaxing and feeling safer and safer, relaxing deeper and deeper, releasing, until we touch these places that are usually not seen, but where the roots, the deep inside, and so when we pull the root of a plant out of the ground, then the plant doesn't sprout again. So we have these ideas of these three roots of greed, hatred, and delusion. And I think of these as umbrella terms for a whole family of related motivations or feelings or attitudes. And in the ancient texts, they have synonyms or describe some of the words for some of the other elements of that family. So with greed, that's related to lust, to relishing. Relishing is enjoying but holding on and really wanting more, getting the most, squeezing the most out of it. Longing, attachment, clinging, and craving. So these are all in the family of greed. And when we say greed, we include all of these kind of included within it. And where do those surface from? What's the root of those inside of you? When you feel greed, when you feel lust, or deep longing, or attachment, or clinging, or craving, to really respect these in a way that's beneficial, to respect the power of them and the influence they have on us. What are the roots? Where are they arising out of? What's the deeper disposition from which they come? What's the deeper feeling tone? What's the deeper tension that we carry with us that seems to be from where they arise? Hatred is, the synonyms for that is wanting to harm. Anger, hostility. Anger is a little bit confusing, that word, because not all anger is wanting to harm. But in this Buddhist list, it all has to do with wanting to harm. So, so hostility or wrath, malice, obstructing. One word is irritation, but so the question is irritation? How does that mean causing harm? But some kind of ill will is there as part of it. Delusion, ignorance, bewilderment, foolishness. Interesting. Not knowing. Not really understanding suffering. If we don't understand our suffering some deep way and see how it arises, how it ceases, we don't really understand it. Suffering not understood is a source for delusion, and that then gets expressed often in greed and in hatred and ill will. So these have a wide influence on us, and what's interesting in the Buddhist analysis of human behavior, that all unwholesome behavior, all behavior which is harmful in some ways to ourselves or to others, has its root in these three forces inside of us, these three categories of things. And if these are the roots, then the task is to somehow get sensitive enough, still enough, feel comfortable enough in oneself, feel enough security in oneself to really be quiet and touch those roots, to really feel what is subliminal, feel what's often latent. And one of the avenues to do that is physical, is to feel the physical tension with a very heightened sense of mindfulness, to really tune in deeply, deeply, deeply to the subtlest forms of tension that sometimes only are felt if the surface tension is finally relaxed enough. And it might even after a long period of kind of peace and ease, we'll get a sense, oh, look at that. There's a little tightening, a contraction, a little kernel of tightness or pressure or something. And then to help that soften and relax, let that release. And even though it might feel like a small little kernel, subtle, deep inside, it's often the very seed, just like a seed of a redwood tree is quite small, but the tree grows really big. So in the same way, these seeds deep inside of greed, hate, and delusion, they might seem inconsequential because they're so small. But in deep, quiet meditation, that's the place where sometimes we can touch those roots or those seeds and let them relax and release. And in that all wholesome behavior, unwholesome behavior comes from these, it becomes really useful to address them, to meet them, to understand them. And so one of the practices in Buddhism is to recognize greed, hatred, and delusion when it arises, but not recognize, sometimes those words are so big words, they seem like they represent big, obvious movements of greed and hatred that everyone can see. But the tendency in Buddhism is to see them even in the very subtle movements, like one synonym or connection to hatred is irritation. And attachment can be very, very small, very mild. But any movement like that, where there involves, you can a kind of self-harm or tension, any tension we have, holding, tightening, that's chronic, is a kind of creates very unhelpful conditions for us. And as we relax that and soften that, we create conditions for something that's very positive, the opposite of greed, hatred, and delusion. And those also can be roots. And to have the roots of non-greed, non-hatred, non-delusion be the source from which we operate is a whole sea change in how some people can live their lives. But and that also is discovered by deeply relaxing. They're waiting for us. Those seeds are waiting for us, and they also can grow into big redwood trees and become strong. So greed, hatred, and delusion. And one of the things to become sensitive to so that we are not pushed around by them, caught in bondage to their influence. So thank you. And I offer these words and thoughts about these deep roots inside of us with the tremendous respect for your depth, your roots, care for it, and really wishing that in that depth of who you are, that you can find peace, well-being, and love, and freedom. Like something deep inside can release and let go. So, thank you.